All right, so I'm gonna do my best to not stand in front of the projector, but I can do shadow puppets if you guys ask later, so. But no, my name's Brian Moncey, and I'm really thrilled to talk about this because if you've spent any time around me recently and I haven't mentioned AI, I'm sleeping. But I'm extremely excited about the potential for AI, and I'm very excited about what the future looks like, particularly for marketing. But as we just heard from Steven, like, it's already here. Like, I don't want to call it the future. We're already in the middle of it, and we're living in it. And so it's not really about if you're going to use it, it's how you're going to use it. So we keep running into this thing where, like, I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You keep seeing all of these reels of, like, people like, just these 5 things will change your life, and, you know, do these 10 steps and do these things. And those are awesome, and I like watching them too. But the thing that I found most, and I hope you guys feel this way too, is that no one's talking about AI. We're talking about the stuff. So the question today is, you know, how do you actually use AI in your marketing, and what is it actually going to do, and what is it not going to do for your marketing, is the most important question to ask. Because if we don't solve this, we're going to ride this wave, and it's eventually going to crash on the shore with us unspectacularly. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about how you can actually use it, but I want to take the philosophy of it. And I really want to talk about it from that higher level that I feel like everybody's sort of skipping over, and not the super nitty-gritty, but the higher level. But then at the end, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to do a very startup-ish thing with AI just for fun, because it's fun. So the first thing to talk about here today is you're hearing a lot about this. And I love this quote. It's an optimistic quote. It says, "The development of AI is as fundamental as the creation of the microprocessor, the personal computer, the internet, and the mobile phone." Like, you know, just the biggest things ever, right? And then entire industries will reorient around it. Businesses will distinguish themselves by how well they use it, okay? Bill Gates. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's a pretty successful entrepreneur guy. He's done a couple of important things. But that's what Bill Gates said. That's on the positive side of things. Now, when we get to the negative side of things, AI is more dangerous than mismanaged aircraft design or production maintenance of bad car production. It has the potential of civilization destruction. And that's Elon Musk, right? Again, I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard him. Look him up. He's really famous, cool guy. But we have 2 titans that are putting out these messages about AI and saying, you know, oh my gosh, it's the best thing ever. And then, oh my gosh, it's going to kill us all. And one of them is right. They're probably both a little bit right. But that doesn't really help me today because I have to launch an email marketing campaign like Steven does. And so, like, what am I going to do about it today? Because I can't overthink the implications of the doom of our civilization. I just need to create some copy, and I'd like to do it in 10 minutes instead of 10 hours. So what does that look like? Well, let's talk about what AI is shorthand for, because I'm going to say AI a bunch. And AI does not just mean what we're going to talk about today. AI means a lot of things. It's a term that's been around for decades. And so when we talk about AI, I'm talking about it the way all of us are talking about it. And that's in particular talking about generative artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, models like that, and large language models, et cetera. So when we talk about AI, we're talking about products like ChatGPT. We're talking about Midjourney. We're talking about Bard. We're talking about new, things that Google's rolling out in their Duet program. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about AI. So if you're imagining, the Spielberg movie AI, just get that out of your head. But let's talk about what everybody's really talking about, because this right here today is what's magical. So I was listening to a story, and they were talking about GPT-2, and they estimated that GPT-2, which is it's what ChatGPT is built on, GPT-4, but what GPT-2, they said it had a brain about as capable as a honeybee. And now, with GPT-4, it has a brain that's about as capable as a squirrel. So, like, it's not a human being, but it is so unbelievably exponentially more powerful now than it was just 2 generations ago. You hate squirrels? Well, what I was going to say, though, is, as we all know, squirrels are also the most distracting joke in the world, right? So, like, when you see something, you say, squirrel. That's ChatGPT today, right? It's that distracting. So I have went through this journey of experiencing like the worst of AI as well. in these models, but that analogy, I just love that today it's like a squirrel, because I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what AI is right now for me. But it's also, to me, it's going to turn my company upside down. You know, we're a digital marketing firm. Every 10 years, a digital marketing firm is doing something different than they did the previous 10 years. Like, it always happens. But we're really looking at a time horizon where the marketing services we sell for a living are going to be replaced effectively by software solutions, and it's happening now. So my entire business model has got to flip itself completely on its head. Like, we cannot do it the way we've been doing it. And so for our business, the 3-year plan, this is all the services we do in our business. Our 3-year plan is by 2025, we want to have integrated AI into every single one of our services. Like, every single thing we do, we're going to be using these AI platforms. And the way that works, though, is, you know, and me and my team have talked about this, is like, right now I have a SEO expert. Right now I have a content manager. Right now I have a paid marketing specialist, right? I told all of them, I'm like, look, your job title is going to change, and you're going to be a relationship manager, and you're going to be a relationship manager, and you're going to be a relationship manager. Like, every one of my team members' job title is going to move towards that, maybe not on their business cards, but it is going to change, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be standing in the gap for the clients and being the people that can talk about this in this nerdy way, so that we get in these situations where our clients just get to keep serving their audience. And as Stephen said earlier, like, my goal is to bring back dignity to the audience and dignity to communication. And if we let AI just run amok in marketing, the marketing will just get really crappy. It really will. And we will all hate looking at it. You'll hate it the way that you hate spam emails right now that you get, that are all around the same exact model, the same exact language. You know how to look for it. It's supposed to look real, and you're like, no, I know how to skip it. I know how to skip it just from the title. And that's the way AI is going to work. If we don't pay attention to the audience at the end of the day, we're going to be making crap for no one that just gets our checkboxes checked. And we won't grow our businesses, and we won't grow startups, and we won't go anywhere. And AI will just keep getting bigger and bigger, and we will proportionally get smaller and smaller. So what we're going to do is we're going to fight for the audience and try and make better content all the time. And I say we, and I'm inviting all of you guys into that mission, because it's going to take everybody demanding better things. Otherwise, everybody's just going to take what they get and live with it. So I want to walk you guys through a case study of my journey through AI really quick. I hope you guys have funny stories like this, but this one involved, I felt like I had gone through a time machine backwards in my life by using AI. And I want to show you guys that. So we're launching a new website. It's going to be really, really awesome. It's beautiful. You know, we're hopefully launching this month. But we have on our website, we have pictures in a lot of our teams around the country, and the photos, like, this is a fine implementation of headshots. I just don't really like it, and I never really liked it. And I struggle with the fact that my team, like, I'm adding team members regularly. I have people around the country. Like, a consistency of look is going to be a challenge. So I, like everyone else, got onto onto social media and saw everybody, like, I don't know, 6 months ago, was putting up these awesome AI avatars. And they just all looked cool. And so I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my team and I'm going to turn us into AI avatars. And then I'm going to make up a story, because I'm in marketing, about how this is what we do with everything. But really, I just wanted it because I thought they looked cool. So I was going to go through this process of making these AI avatars. And so I did it to myself, and I ran it through this app, and it, you know, takes a while and you're waiting. And I was like, they're kind of cool. Like, they're not like exactly me, but it works. Like, I'm starting to get it. I did this is kind of like a wide spray of, like, choices. And then I get this, and I'm like, that's, like, mostly looks like me, you know? But I don't really want it on my website, but I liked the style it was, and I was like, maybe I'll just, like, hyper-focus on what got me to that image. So then I did it again. I went into phase 2, okay? And I put them in, and I'm like, okay, there's more options, but less like the specific style I was looking for. In fact, I never got that style I was looking for, but I did get one that I thought was pretty cool, and I like this, and it looks like me, right? Like, that's like, if you saw that, you'd be like, oh, it's Brian with a little bit more hair. It's like, cool, right? So this actually looks like me, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to keep that prompt, but now I have to be able to do this at scale, because I got 13 team members. I've got to do this 13 times. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to try and basically create, like, a standardized way that I can get the same results each time out of this app. And so I did this. And I proceeded to get the worst results that I had gotten the entire time. And it also led me to believe that it was getting worse, not better. It was like the app wanted me to look weirder and weirder and weirder. I didn't zoom in on any of these because they look so strange. But I also didn't zoom in on any of these because every single one of these looks like somebody else that's not named Brian Moncey. But none of them look like me in a way that would work. And I didn't get the style I wanted at all. So I got all new looks, and I never got back to the look. And look, every single one of these is listed as comics. I never got the style I was looking for. And this doesn't look like comics. Have you ever looked at a comic? They don't look like that, right? So I kept getting worse and worse and worse results. So I said, okay, maybe this app is not the right app to use. So I'm going to jump over to Midjourney. And so I go to Midjourney. Now, when I opened Midjourney, these were the pictures. So I knew I was on the right track, because that is fantastic. I didn't know what the prompt was on that, and I need to look closer. Let's see, angel, bright white wings, and I think it's dog face. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. So I was like, this is the place to be. I'm going to do this through Midjourney. Totally different program, totally different back end on how it's actually developing the images. I'm going to use Midjourney, and so I prompted it. And I put in the prompt, I want a male avatar of these photos of me, who's a real human being. I want it comic book style, friendly smile that makes the avatar look smart, and keep original hair from reference, don't add more. Keep original facial features from reference photo, V4. I don't know what V4 meant, but I hope it meant good. It did not turn out good, because as you can see again, not only do none of them look like me, actually I say they look like me, but they don't, they're not, none of these are Brian Moncey. But like, I wish, but no, not a thing. It just kept getting worse. This is phase 4 of my process, and I got worse results every time. And so on my phase 5, I just gave up. I didn't do it anymore. Like, we don't have those photos. I didn't do it. And I think that this is a very common story of AI for people right now, which is this world where you're like, I keep going to it, and I want it to be good, and it's not good enough. I'll just write it myself. But then you see these success stories where people are like, oh yeah, I made all that on AI, and it's great. And it's like, the thing about AI is that I heard it said that it's like a B-. And so if you are like below B-, you're going to love what it makes. But if you're above B- in any proficiency, you're going to go, well, it's kind of underwhelming because it's a B-, you know? Like, I wouldn't get mad at my kids for getting a B-, but I wouldn't like high-five them for it. Depends on the kid, but. So this is another case study, okay? Now, this is a situation where I was trying to write a press release. And as you can see on my face, this goes in a different direction, right? So I went to Bard, and we had a little, you pay for awards, and you get awards, so we got an award, right? But we had an award, and I was like, I want a press release for it. And I kind of did this as a joke. I was just like, I'll just have Bard make it, because we were on the phone in the meeting. So I put in the prompt, created a press release, I put in the information, pointed to the website for the award, etc. And then while I don't expect you all to read this, just trust me, it's great. It's just like a press release should be. Hits all the points we wanted to make, and we had a press release in, that was not even 10 minutes. It was 1 minute of work, right? So in 1 minute of work, I leapfrogged over what would have taken a lot of thought time and a lot of information, all that kind of stuff. I think the difference between the two of them was I knew what I wanted in one, so much so that AI couldn't get the job done. In the second one, I didn't care how it turned out, and it turned out great. So AI did the job when I didn't care, but we need to now spend our time finding ways to make it do things that we want it to do, not just things that we're fine with. So that's really, I show you guys both of those things to show you an example of like, it's working, it's just not always working, and how it's going to work is going to be up to us thinking about it differently. So that got me down this road of like, what can AI actually do? And this is not science fiction we're about to walk into here, but it is philosophy class, okay? Like, I'm not going to go into the details of how large language models can analyze subsets of data, anything like that. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the high level now. And so the first thing that I see as AI's like biggest strength is, although my slideshow is not as fast as I want it to be, AI equals speed. So AI can do things in 10 minutes that you can't expect it to do, right? Like, it allows you to compress the time that it takes to do tasks that you or your team member would have already done. So like, you just added nitrous to it. Like, it goes so much faster. And it doesn't just go so much faster in a way that's like, oh, I cut my time in half. It like literally eliminates complete amounts of need for work because it goes so fast. The other beauty of this, though, is iteration. So had you know, and Stephen, I keep pointing to you. You can't give an example without me coming back to it. But the repeatability of the process when you don't get what you want, you can quickly iterate to where you want to go. And that is that's sort of like, we can't really appreciate that as human beings because we're so used to, every time we work on something, it's like, I'll get back to it, I'm going to look at it today, I'm going to check it out, and then I'll send you something tonight. Hopefully you can review it in the morning, right? AI is like, no, I already made it. And so you're instantaneously able to iterate. And that iterative process applying to your marketing is huge because you lose so much time, and time is money in marketing. You lose so much time in the iterative process required to make good things that AI can completely circumvent. It just takes the time out. It's just instantaneously things work. But the second thing that AI does is AI knows things. And it can know a complete amount of things like you can't. So this is not just, hey, it knows the whole internet. That's cool. But like with the case study situation, it was able to know everything and then compose content that was good. That's hard as a writer. Because when I write a case study, I know how to write a case study, I know the format of a case study, but it requires me to really think every time I'm writing a sentence that I'm doing something towards the goal. So it may require me to put together a bulleted list beforehand, and then I've got to double check and make sure I touched on the points I wanted to touch on, and then I got to reread it and make sure the good stuff's at the front, you know, the lamer stuff's kind of lower down. Like, it takes work. It takes, you know, I would say writing a good press release, I said case study earlier, writing a good press release might take, you know, it might take an hour for a good copywriter to write a good press release. And that was, I mean, it was a minute. And it was kind of, I didn't even have a chance to think about it, and I already had one. So that ability then, if I were to then sit down and write, I'm only editing. And that gives you a lot of power. So AI can know this whole thing of information like we just can't do well as human beings. And so those data sets are amazing. Now, there's some holes in those data sets because right now, the GPT model has been trained on the internet, right? But it has not been trained on specific things that we expect it to know, and it will lie. They call those hallucinations. But it will lie to you and say this is true. And I've compared AI mostly to my older brother Josh because I've never met anybody more than AI and my brother Josh who can so profoundly tell you something that they believe is true that is completely incorrect. And it's like you're reading it, you're like, it doesn't add a margin of error. It's like, no, this is the way it is. And it's completely wrong. And so AI's hallucinations are a hole in it. And the reason it has these hallucinations especially is because it's missing data. It's missing information it doesn't have. So what are the phases AI will take? Because this is also an important part of this too. So we've talked about what it can do. It's got speed and it's got information, for sure. And so what are the phases that AI is going to take? When I press the button, it should go. There you go. So the first phase, we're calling prompting. That's really where we're at right now with AI, with what we've been using. So ChatGPT, Midjourney, et cetera. So right now, you know, you can go to a source and you can go do some work and then take that work and bring it back to your desktop, so to speak. So I'm going to go over to ChatGPT and do some stuff, right? And I'm working inside of ChatGPT. You know, but then it's not living where I need it to live. It's living over there, okay? So the second step is when the prompting gets added to our other software, and we're already there. So you guys have seen those little magic bubbles pop up in so many of your software applications now. They've taken, most of the time, honestly, it's the GPT-4 model. They've folded it in, and now it works within the software. So I want to show this video. I really get too excited when I watch this video. I don't know, has everybody seen Google's Duet platform and seen how it's working within Workspace? Okay, I'm going to show it to you. You don't need to hear it, so if the sound is not good, it's fine. But this right here is, you take AI and you layer it into your stuff. This is what it looks like, and this is just the coolest thing in the world. Like, this is everything I wanted. You know, so you go in, you're going to be prompting, you know, catch me up on this email conversation, right? Going through you're dealing with your email conversations, and you got this whole freaking feed of a bunch of people saying a bunch of stuff that's not important. And you put together a conversation summary, and then it creates a prompt, and now you're responding to a whole chain of email. This is all in Google today. This is in Workspace. You can sign up for it. You can sign up for a 14-day trial today, right? Now, that thing it just made within its own program, it created a brief over in Docs. So I didn't go over and paste something. It pasted it for us, right? So it's jumping over to Docs and it's doing everything in Docs, but we still have all the editability we had before because this is my workspace. Then it's going to go in and say, okay, now I just wrote that presentation brief and I'm happy with that. Make me a slide deck to present it, right? And it's doing all this work. Again, this is all within slides. It's not a third program. And that is the difference of folding those prompts in. And then now these things, like this is in Google Meet here, it's like put together the meeting notes for us. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is, again, you can do this today. We're not waiting for this. This is not the future anymore. But this ability to use it in the software you were already using, that is a seismic shift for us because we're not going out and getting now. It's actually coming to us. And it's coming straight into the platforms where we're already doing our work. And so that's how I see, to 2025, that's how I see this world where my business turns into an AI business. It's like, well, in 2 years, we'll absolutely be able to fold the AI that's already folded into our business into our processes so that we do our work better. But I mean, and that right there, I mean, again, Google was at the point of like saying, hey, this is coming, and now I got a message. Sorry, I got to skip forward, and it won't let me skip. Come on, little guy, you can do it. There we go. I'm back. Boom. Okay. So second phase, they're going to roll it into the software that we're already using. Third phase is that the systems are actually built on AI. Now that is different, and it's really hard for us to like think like that. And I think in startup world, that's really where it matters. Because we're going to go to this place where we're using AI within what we already do. That, everybody here goes, finally. That's what we were waiting for. That's what I got so excited about. Step 3, you can't really imagine. Because there's going to be things that are built that we couldn't have come up with. Like things that we just couldn't do ourselves. Like things that human beings wouldn't have been able to imagine. And that's a different world. And that world is scary and it's super cool because used the right way, that's where things are going to go, towards sort of the utopian goals. But then it's destination change, and that is when we stop doing things the way we used to because now the platforms have changed the way we work. So, you think about it, it's like, well, I used to walk and then there was a horse-drawn carriage, right? I used to ride my horse and buggy until there was a car. And now I Uber, and I don't even own a car, because when I want to get somewhere, a car is here for me, right? Like that world of like changing the way you work completely, like the difference between I'm going to go for a walk and a car just comes and takes me somewhere is a seismic change. Because now you have that time you can work on your computer in the back seat of the car. You can check your mail. You can do all these things. Like our world will change. When autonomous driving comes into play, it's going to completely change everything, right? The systems and the things that don't exist that will exist, we can't even comprehend, but it's going to change the way we work. And so things like we're not going to be always going out and getting. Like the predictive nature of things is it's going to be coming to us even more. We're not going to be asking Siri and Alexa for things. We're like the solutions are going to come to us. And so that's going to be a very different world. So we don't know when we're going to get to 3 or 4, but 2 is today. And you can start using 2. But as you develop your career and you develop your startup and you develop where you're going with things, keep in mind that the disruptive power of AI is unprecedented. There's been nothing like it because we just invited another player to the game that isn't a human being. And that's never happened before. So I've talked about a lot what will change. What won't change is what actually drives a lot of my decision making today. And I think that what won't change is this is how you get a grip on reality and you get a grip on today. Because these are the things that won't change. Now, there's some people that will say that these things will change, but whatever. I don't agree with them. Number 1 is AI will never be a strategic wanter. Now, I don't know if I'm using the word wanter right because I tried to look it up and it didn't find the right definition and it thought I misspelled it. But the idea is visionary. You want things. Right? So you want things in your startup. You want to make money. You want to grow your future. You want to do something for the world that it's never done before. AI doesn't want any of that stuff. It doesn't have any desire to do anything. It's just a computer. It's not alive. And so without somebody prompting and saying, hey, I want these really cool looking comic book avatars for my company that I dreamed up and made, there is no AI avatars. It never made AI avatars without me asking for it. So that strategic wanter, like you still have to be a visionary sitting in it. A lot of people have given up on having vision because they're like, can't win, don't try. because of AI, but AI is not trying to compete with you on vision. It's not. It's just trying to facilitate your vision. And so, well, it's not trying to do anything. It's doing what you tell it to do. And so you can't get out of being the visionary strategic wanter. You need to still live in that space. The second one is that AI, as of today, and we could get really nerdy about why it can't become the subject matter on everything, but for the most part, AI can't be a subject matter expert that does a good job, and in every AI success story that you've ever heard, there was a subject matter expert on two sides of the equation, before and after the AI. Somebody who knew what to ask it for, and somebody who knew that it was right. If we were to create that press release, and I had said, hey, make me a press release about this stuff, subject matter expert and a wanter, and then on the other side I could read it and go, yeah, that's right. Because if I read it and I was like, this is not good at all, I still am the subject matter expert. Subject matter expertise is really hard to replace because subject matter expertise is often specific, not general. And these models that are built on general things don't get that. Again, we could get really nerdy about why certain industries will get completely replaced with AI and others won't because of its inability to access a lot of subject matter expertise. But for your purposes in marketing, you're going to have to be on both sides of the equation. You're going to have to know what you want, and you're going to have to know that it was right or wrong. You can't get away from that. And then the third thing that it is AI is not its own implementer. So just like it doesn't care to make the stuff that you're going to prompt it for, it doesn't care to prompt. And so you are going to have an implementer. I've broken these three roles out because often in a business, there's going to be three distinct people that are going to be doing it, maybe four if you count the subject matter experts on both sides of the equation. But a lot of times where you're going to be going to an implementer. You're going to be going to somebody who knows how to drive the car and get behind the wheel and drive you where you want to go. So that implementation part, AI can't be its own implementer. You need something above it. You need a super administrator for AI. And so those are the three things that you just can't get away from. You can't get away from the fact that you need to be a strategic wanter and have vision. You can't get away from the fact that you're going to need a subject matter expert both to be on the front end of it and the back end of it to make sure it's right. And you can't get away from the fact that you're going to need an implementer, somebody to prompt it, somebody to get the AI to do the thing that you want it to in the first place. You're going to need all three of those things. And so AI won't do that for you, and don't expect it to. And also don't be disheartened that they just moved your cheese. This cheese isn't moving. It's like an aged Parmesan that's going to sit on the shelf for decades, right? We've got a long time of us needing to do these three things. And particularly in a startup world, like having a vision for a startup, you could probably get online and just go, what's a good idea for a startup? But anything that AI could come up with would be derivative, right? It would only know what was already out there. So you already have to be the visionary and want that. And you got to want it for yourself. Like AI is not going to be okay with your late nights. Like you're going to have to be okay with that. AI is not going to be okay with the struggle. AI is not going to be okay with that because it's not a person. You are. So you're going to have to bring those things into the table. And leaning on those and heavily leaning on these three things that it can't do is how you're going to be able to succeed in the future. And your business. So now I want to do this. I really do. But I'm about to use the internet and like 4 different services, so it's probably not going to work. However, I want to make up a business with you guys today. So that's what I want to do, and the reason why is because it's fun. Now, I'm using the free version of ChatGPT because I wanted you to see what 3.5 can do. 4 is a squirrel brain. 3.5, I guess, is, I don't know what the middle between a bee and a squirrel is, but some sort of small animal. But honestly, I just want to make up a startup idea today. So this is the audience participation point, so if you all stare at me, it's going to be really awkward. What's a problem that we're dealing with today? Just give me anything. Don't say Brian. What? Climate change? Okay. So we want to do a startup that helps alleviate something with climate change. Let's narrow it down to, like, what's something that we could really do ourselves that's not a gigantic idea? Trash? Trash. I love it. Okay. All right. So first prompt that we're going to go into is, this is going to be our big idea for the company. And we are going to, okay, what do you want to say? Solve trash? This is your company, so I only want 10% of the common shares. What? Reduce trash? Okay, so we want to reduce trash and waste from consumers all over the world. I have traveled to the third world, and let me tell you, they have a big trash problem too. It's not just us. We all got it. All right, so here's a prompt I developed for this. So it's going to be, give me 5 name ideas for a SaaS startup that, and by the way, it has to be a SaaS startup because I added that to my parameters. But this is what we're doing, okay? So this is our big idea. I'm such a nerd. This is so fun. All right, I'm going to prompt you, GPT. Don't fail me, okay? All right, which one's your favorite? They love these like camel cases, by the way. GPT's all about them. Do you like any of those? Yeah. Green Saver Pro? Okay, well, hold on. Find me 5 more names like Green Saver Pro. Oh, why does it keep not prompting when I do that? Certainly, it's so polite. Any of those better?
Worse.
Worse? Okay, show of hands. Who likes Green Saver Pro?
Okay, maybe Green Guard is better.
All right, who likes Green Guard Pro? Since barely any of you voted, Green Guard Pro wins. Okay, I like it. Well, it should be like Green Guard Guy or something then, right? I don't know, Guy's got a weirder sound to it, okay. All right, so we got Green Guard Pro. So now I'm gonna ask it, what are 3 products that this company could provide, okay? I'll get through the boring stuff here in a second, hold on. Because ChatGPT is doing all of our hard work here. So, waste tracking and analytics platform, sounds pretty cool. Sustainable shopping assistant, that would help, like maybe something that sits online. And let's run with that. Do you guys like that idea that like you have this shopping assistant that helps you control for waste, which nothing does right now? Like Apple's whole thing is they're going to try and eliminate like plastics. So like our SaaS solution could actually say like, hey, we're going to use Apple instead of, I don't know who else makes computers, but we could use them instead because it would be, we'll save waste there, right? So we'll say a sustainable shopping assistant. Create a browser extension or mobile app. That's a great idea. I like that. All right, so product. Here we go. Boom. And so then, okay, this is a good one. So what are some of the pain points? Now, a lot of people, I really focus on value proposition design a lot in marketing. This is something that is a academic thing, but if you go through and do this, all of your marketing will be better. So let's just say, what are some of the pain points that this could solve for our customers? Scroll, bro. Okay, so lack of visibility. Many individuals and businesses struggle to track and understand it. Confusion about sustainable choices. Inefficient, difficult, meeting sustainable goals. This is pretty good stuff. Waste reduction, education, environmental impact awareness. This is like a great idea, ChatGPT. Thank you for that. Okay, so value props. I got a bunch of value props. I'm going to take those and paste them really quick. Let's just get one of them. So what about in your platform, do you imagine that it's more like a consumer is going to use it, or is it more B2B? Consumers. Okay, so I think that sustainability goals will be harder for a consumer to do. Confusion about sustainable choices. How about that? I like it. All right, confusion about value prop design. Okay, so remember, we're like making a whole entire business here. So what questions would a potential customer ask that would lead them to this product? Let's go. Boom, and watch this. I didn't press the button again. I win. All right. So how can I track and analyze my household or business's waste generation to identify areas for improvement? That's a pretty good one. Is there a tool that can help me make more sustainable purchase decisions and reduce environmental footprint while shopping? Here we go. That's good. All right, so now we're going to take that question. We're just going to build off of this one question, but any of those would be good. So now let's get into customer use. So now I jump over to my old pal. You guys have seen him before, Google. I just love doing this. This is just the coolest thing ever because it's like the best Google hack ever. All right, blah, 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 blah. Here we go. How can we reduce environmental footprints? It's a pretty good question. How can you make purchases sustainable? That's really right on track with what we're doing. So these are Google's suggestions around the question we asked, meaning that people are asking these questions of the internet. Google has this weird thing, wherever you turn down a question that makes sense, it adds more questions to it targeted around what you're doing. So what are sustainable purchasing practices? What are the 4 elements of sustainable? We don't want to go procurement, that's B2B. What is an example of sustainable purchasing? I think all these are getting into the B2B space. How might I reduce my carbon footprint when shopping? Let's see what else it prompted down here. What are 7 ways that we can reduce our carbon footprint? What are 2 ways that you can reduce your carbon footprint at home? That's a good one. So I have all of these questions now. These are all great questions. And so what we do is we take those questions and we dump them in here, right? Like we just take the questions, not the one we wrote or the one ChatGPT came up with, but like, let's see, where was one that was, levels, okay, that's crazy. What is single most significant cause of carbon emissions? I need something more about the product. What are 2 ways you can reduce your carbon footprint at home, okay? So now I'm going to dump that in here as my question. I'm so glad the internet's working. All right, so now here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take that question from Google, and I'm going to say, okay, answer this question in 1,500 words with the conclusion directing the audience to try. What was the name of our business? Good job. You got business cards made already or what? Let me get that down there. Green Guard Pro. Green Guard Pro. That's solve, and our value prop that we said was confusion about sustainable choices. So let's get that in there. Again, what's so awesome about this is that it can know everything that we already wrote, right? So I'm going to jump over to Jasper AI. Now this is a paid solution. I wanted to show you guys some paid solutions as well. Jasper made me love AI again because I hated it for a couple of nights there. So Jasper made me love AI because Jasper is focused on just making things that I want, which is content. So if you guys have not played with Jasper, I highly recommend it, but it's good for teams too. Tone of voice, I'm going to go direct but funny, which is what I hope you all describe me as. And then we'll go average consumer is who we wanted. Consumer, I spelled that right? Okay. Now this one will take a little bit more time, so we'll let it ruminate. Jasper runs a little slower. I don't know why. But now what we're doing is we're creating an article. It's going to be a 1,500-word article that is designed for SEO purposes. So it's like it's going to be directing traffic to that. So what did we do? We took a question that seemed really obvious to us about what might lead us to our product, and then we asked Google what people were actually asking us about, asking that we would be the good result for, and then we're letting the computer write something for that. Now let's see how it looks. World's constantly changing, blah, 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 introductory paragraph. Reduce energy consumption. The amount of energy we use at home is significant. Reduce waste. That's another one. Conclusion. Making small changes in your daily life can make a significant impact on the environment. By reducing this, you should consider trying Green Guard Pro. So that just put together a blog for us that we can now use to create good stuff. So now I'm not going to paste that over here because it's too long, but we got a title for it, we got a subtitle for it, we got SEO keywords, and we got a content body, which is awesome. So now let's jump into the last piece of this puzzle. Boop. All right, so I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT, and I'm going to prompt it with this question, which is create 10 Facebook posts that are intended to link to the following article. All right, ChatGPT. Create 10 Facebook posts that are intended to link to, did I spell something wrong? To the following article. And I like 10, it's not a magic number, but going with 10 posts will usually give you like plenty of things to not like. Looking to make a positive impact, want to save energy, blah, blah, blah. Did you know that making small changes at home can help combat climate change? Discover easy ways to reduce waste and live sustainably. Look at that, that's a good one. It even got an emoji in it. And it's hashtag eco-friendly. Thank you, ChatGPT. You always have to say thank you like Marie Kondo would say. You brought joy to me. So then what I do is I go over to Agorapulse and I take that. And then I'm going to do one more AI thing because Agorapulse, so this is another premium chat or premium GPT piece of software. But I wanted to show you guys this because we already used Agorapulse. So they added this little magic button here. And added in the ability to do prompting within it, and this is that next level thing that I was telling you guys about. So I'm going to send this to the composer. I don't know what's happening, but that will actually allow me to create new versions of it that I can rewrite, change the tone of voice, change things, and Agorapulse is better at matching our voice, giving us more options for that. So I don't know if anybody was timing that, but in about 10 minutes we have a business that's marketing. Like we're already online doing it, right? So if you guys, want to do these sorts of things and you want to start using them within your daily life, it just takes just playing with them. Like it just takes pulling them in, like finding those resources. But if you keep in mind, like what we did was we said, hey, we want to do something, we want to change the world, we want to fix climate change, right? That's what we want to do. And you say, okay, so that's, now I'm the strategic wanter, I want to build the thing, right? And then I'm going to be a subject matter expert because we read those and like, we're like, yeah, that sounds like what we're trying to talk about. And then we did the prompting. We now have what AI wouldn't have made up. AI didn't have a startup for us before we started, and now we have a whole startup. So anyway, thought that would be fun to play around with. So, and that is our SaaS startup. So in conclusion, yes?
Is also a company that uses pesticides that are
Yeah.
eco-friendly.
So what's the other one that we picked that we didn't pick, the other green one? We need to research it. Green Saver Pro. See if Green Saver Pro is any good. We'll use that one instead. Trademark is still important. Don't steal. But basically, guys, these are really, this is it. This is what I want. If you guys are going to walk away with something big, like think about these three things. Like if we go through and we continue to be these roles in our own marketing and don't try and go to sleep on it, you're going to have great stuff. I mean, like that quickly, we just had a bunch of stuff. And by the way, anyone in here can do exactly what I just did really easily. Like everything I just had, yes, I paid for some of the premium things, but even still, you could probably have done the whole thing within ChatGPT. And you now have an SEO article. You now have it posted to your social media. You now have it out there and built. And it's just that simple. And so when we keep thinking about like who we're going to be in the middle of the game, like that's really what's important is we don't think about what AI is supposed to do. We think about what we're supposed to do. And you'll get to a place where you're happy with what you do. You know, it's no matter the advancements, like be the strategic wanter. Like if you're in the startup world and you have no passion, find another job. Like this is not the place to be. It's not the place to be because it's gonna be hard. It will always be hard. And it's hard because there's lots of competition. Like you're pushing against a world that doesn't want something new all the time. And so you have to still be that strategic wanter, still have vision. And as my bad pun that I can't escape from, there is no AI in vision, but there is an I in there twice for effect. So you've got to remember, like you've got to create the vision, you've got to create the want for these things. Otherwise you're never gonna take off. Your startup is gonna be a stop up. The end.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Wow. Am I on? Yeah.
You're on.
Incredible insight into the way this world is going. I had no idea that the things that exist right now today, it's amazing. I can now imagine a world, perhaps even in our lifetimes, where when the CEO comes to make a presentation, he doesn't even have to do the presentation. The AI will do it for him. You did do this presentation on your own, didn't you, Brian? Okay. And even a day when the actual person is actually a hologram that's generated and talks from AI. That is really you, isn't it, Brian? Okay. All right.
I refuse to answer.
So we got some time for some questions. I have a mic here. Ben has a mic on the other side. We ask you to use the mic, even if you have a booming voice, because it's for the AV recording.
What is the program in Google called for the Office?
I jumped on it really quick. It's Duet.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's really, for no reason, they've actually marketed it really poorly because I saw an email that it was available and I've been like desperately waiting for it, you know? And I saw his email available and I had to go on a sales call with this person who was just seeing if I wanted to use it. And then they had me go with an account manager who was gonna help me out with it. And then I asked like, what do I need to do? And he's like, oh, you just log in and set up the trial. I'm like, oh, so I could have just done this the whole time and you never told me. So yeah, they didn't even explain that I could use it, but it's in beta, as everything seems like it's gonna be in beta forever. But no, it's available in Workspace today. So if you're a Google Workspace, you gotta be an enterprise client, but it's available in Google Workspace today. If you don't own the account, get somebody to turn it on for you.
There's a lot of AI tools out there. How do you find out what's next, I guess? You know, how do you find out what all these different types of AIs, because I would have no idea how to find the 4 different AIs you use just here, and I know there's more.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, the most popular one that owns all of the headlines is ChatGPT. and it does so much stuff. So for me, it's like using ChatGPT. Bard, which is Google's, is also, I don't know, it's like it's doing drugs because it hallucinates way more, in my experience. But Google's Bard, Bard's connected to the internet without paying for it. And so if you tell Bard, I'm trying to solve this problem with AI, can I solve it with AI? It will give you a good result. If you Google that same question, you will see ads and SEO, and you probably will not find a good result. Case in point, I do a lot of podcasting stuff, and finding a good podcast system with a Google search was horrendous because you have to try them, right? So you can use the knowledge of the internet because Bard is a much more interesting search engine than Google's main search platform. So using Google Bard, like ask it what you're looking for. But the other thing too is like be a student of pop culture and like pay attention to what everybody's recommending, because seeing use cases for things almost always prompts me to want to try something. But on the other side of it, like we do a lot of video production, and like I don't think that they're going to solve video production well for professionals. So I'm waiting for those prompt functions to get rolled into it. And Adobe's been releasing it across their cloud. So some of the things it's going to be waiting till it comes into your software near you. And sometimes it's going to be like, honestly, go to Bard and ask Bard. But continuing, I don't recommend spending any time on social media, period. But like, there's so many influencers out there that are putting out like, here's what I did with this thing, and it's awesome. So that would be another way to like figure those things out. So let them come to you. But
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
I was curious about the 3-year plan that you have to integrate AI into all of your services. So could you share a little bit more about what that looks like? Is it just training of your staff to use all these different programs? Is it creating a marketing stack that you then have access to? Like what?
That's a whole different speech that I could make. But no, the real challenge with it is not technology. It is a people problem. And I love people. And I'm looking at one of my people right now. And it's a people problem, which is your team is going to have somewhere on a spectrum of reaction between this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life and you are going to fire me. And you don't know where they're going to be on that spectrum. So the first challenge of this rollout is going to be the thing I told you guys earlier, which is you're not an SEO expert, you're a relationship manager. And so for us, I mean, stupid as it sounds, it goes back to our core values. We have to hire around our core values, and AI is not affecting our core values at all. It's not changing what we want to be as a business and who we are. And our purpose statement as a business is build relationships, success will follow. So like, because we're having all of our employees, like we're hiring around that idea, I'm trying to move them down the spectrum where they're going to know that the relationship was the thing we built it on, not the tasks. And there's a pattern in our company, and you have to make sure it's part of your culture. There's a pattern of people growing into new jobs. You've got to showcase that, because if people think they're just the thing they do, they're never going to believe you when you say, no, look, like I'm going to give you a tool that's going to make you something you've never been before that you're going to love. They might not believe you. They might just think, oh, you're just going to get rid of me. And so you've got to communicate it up front. That's the first challenge, is the human challenge. And it precedes the tools, and it precedes the change in the business. We have to have that in our core values. That's where it starts. When we get to that point where we can get it into our people's hands, then the challenge is whether they'll pick it up or not. You know, I mean, you can lay a tool set in front of a team member. We actually had a subscription to this piece of software that was awesome. And one of my team members was like, we got to get it. And let's just say it was $1,000. It was probably more than that, if my credit card remembers. But let's just say it was $1,000 for an annual subscription. No one used it one time. And then when the year rolled around, no one remembered we had it. And then I got to renew it again for a full another year of no one using it, right? That was with normal technology, not AI, right? So the idea that people are going to go, I'm going to go out of my way and learn something that I never knew how to do before and think differently to potentially lose my job is a frightening proposition. So how do you do it is you've got to have the first principles, and then you've got to actually help them adopt it. And I got one team member that's excited about it, so I lean on him a lot, and he's He and I experiment with Jasper together. I've got other team members, they're leaning on technologies that make sense to them, but giving them the tools and then working with it. But the last piece of the puzzle, though, is you have to drive the vision of your business. And that strategic wanter piece of it applies to not just the AI usage, it applies to everything. And so you're going to have to go through and you're going to have to be a strategic wanter for your business. And so when one of your team members is not, when they're spending 3 hours writing something that they could have prompted, you go, let's figure out how to, what would you rather do with 2 hours and 50 minutes? What would you rather do with that time? And then let them figure that out, because if they're going, well, they may not know that they're sabotaging themselves. But if you push people towards those better things and you continue to be the visionary of your business, that's my loose plan. My specific plan is I'm going to wait for things to roll into the software we already use and keep building it. That's what I'm going to do. And so video editing doesn't happen yet, and it will someday, and it'll be better, I mean, podcasting, I'm still not comfortable with the AI podcast tool we use is called Descript. It's fantastic. It's not enough. It's not enough because I want too much out of it. And so what it makes is pretty good, but it's not that good. And so I don't use it. I don't use it like that. I'm still editing in a nonlinear editor for audio.
Other questions?
Don't you think that using AI for literally everything in life, like prompting everything or anything basically, is going to make us lazy or less smart on the bottom line later?
Will it make us lazy? In marketing, you're not allowed to be lazy. So things that aren't good don't work, right? The other thing about marketing too is marketing is very greedy, and so it always wants more. So marketing will force you to not be greedy or not be lazy, because you'll keep pursuing more stuff. Now, I hate that hamster wheel approach, but in this case, I think it makes sense. In general, with people, we've already seen it happen, that people are lazy. And I don't want to quote psychological studies that I have not read, but there's a lot of problems with the cognitive development of human beings right now because we don't have to remember stuff. And our inability to remember stuff is bad in a lot of ways, but also we don't really know what the effect of always having answers at our fingertips for the last, say, 10 years. We don't know what the effect is going to be of that, and it really it's detrimental, and it's probably going to be really bad for us. So what we're going to have to do is when we win time, we're going to need to redeem that time for things that are good. And so people are going to have to force themselves with discipline to do good things too. Because if everything's given to you, you won't be a very good person and you won't be very fun at a cocktail party. It will be the problem. But you also might have cognitive decline at an earlier stage in your life that shortens your lifespan. So both of those things are important. So no, I think that it's a real problem. But in business, I wish my to-do list would get shorter, but it keeps getting longer, and I keep getting more efficient and better things and more people, and it keeps getting longer. So I haven't run into the problem where my world hasn't been greedy, and I would guess that anybody in the startup community would agree. But I'm a little worried about society for sure. That's a problem.
There's a lot of articles out there that say that AI is going to get rid of a lot of entry-level positions. What are your thoughts on that?
I think AI will get rid of a lot of positions. Yes. That's it. No. No. I think that there is always been a natural churn of opportunity for people. People are very malleable in a way that even AI isn't. And so the thing you have to think outside of is you have to think of purpose and what you're actually trying to accomplish with your life, not your occupation. Your resume is not more important than your well-being as a person. And so, no, I think that tons of stuff is I just told you guys I was gonna get rid of all of the jobs at my business, for sure. I'm not gonna get rid of the people, because I have adaptable people that are gonna wanna grow, and they're gonna be more productive and they're just gonna be working at a company that's awesome because a lot of it is figured out, and they just spend their time being creative and strategic and doing good things, right? So am I worried about the bottom rung of the ladder? Only in the sense if I'm worried about it at a general thing, but if you sat somebody in front of me who was, I'm gonna use the consummate answer of their burger flippers, right? Somebody that's a burger flipper and now they got a machine that flips burgers. Okay, great. like in general, burger flippers are going to go away. But if you sat me in front of somebody named Brian who wanted to be a burger flipper, like I would say, like, do what you want to do, but grow. You know, like keep finding ways to grow as a person. You'll be happier pursuing better things, and you'll be happier growing and stretching yourself. And there's a robot that just slid you over, so build robots. But like, or just clean robots, or maintain robots, or be somebody who helps sell robots, or, you know, I mean, it's like there's a lot of things just happened around that job that got replaced. And find your place and find meaning in what you do and find meaning outside of what you do and keep growing that way. And you're going to, like, yes, generally speaking, the economy is going to be massively disrupted by artificial intelligence, full stop. But introduce me to a person and I would advise them that they're going to be okay. So.
All right, who else? Brian, I have a question. It's kind of out there, but you really got my imagination thinking, so I don't know if this fits the topic or not. But are you familiar with the concept of the uncanny valley?
Yes.
Will there be an uncanny valley in AI, or maybe we've already passed through the uncanny valley of AI, and maybe give the audience a quick description of what that is?
So the uncanny valley is a term that comes from visuals. And in particular, do you guys remember seeing the movie Shrek when it came out? And like everything looks awesome, and then Fiona looks really weird. It was something they realized, especially in computer animated films, was that like the more realistic we make the human beings look, the more cognitive dissonance it causes in the audience, and they can't deal with it. So like if you ever, like next time you're watching a movie, I was actually watching How to Train Your Dragon from 2010 last night with my kids. This is a 13-year-old movie, and the scenery was unbelievable, and all the people look really, really weird like cartoons. And it's not just to apply to kids. It really is like if you make something that looks too close to a human being, the closer you get to reality, the less people believe it. It's uncanny. We can't believe it, right? So if you make a stick figure of a person, you're like, cool, stick figure. The closer it gets to photorealism, the worse it gets. And we saw that happen in Midjourney. Midjourney was a great example earlier of the uncanny valley. Like the closer I tried to get to me, the less I believed it. But there was like cartoon versions of me that were totally acceptable, okay? So that's the concept of the uncanny valley. As he's applying it, and I think this is, I actually talk about uncanny valley a lot in this world, which is to say, do we have these chasms that we can do B- work, we'll never be able to do A+ work? Because the closer we get to A+, the worse it gets for you to believe, right? That would be the uncanny valley of AI, I would say, you know? And it's replacing, figure out what you're gonna replace, the same thing. Like if we just said with email marketing, like it's like this email's a B- level, I can't write an A+ email. A human being can, but AI will never get there. And I think that the challenge, and this was the thing that I kind of tiptoed on earlier, which is the concept of greediness with the data. These data sets, as much as you have the entire internet, you don't really know what's good. And so like in email marketing, for instance, it's gonna get better because they have repetitions of people looking at what works in the body of an email, and they'll say successful emails look like this. I need to make that. That'll get better. But when it comes to, for instance, architecture's got a real problem with AI because they can share the blueprints as data, but they can't share the process that the people did to make the blueprints. So it can know what a good blueprint looks like, but it can't actually know what a good building looks like. And so there are going to be places where the uncanny valley is insurmountable just because we don't have the data necessary to do it. But also our human brains are really, like the squirrel brain doesn't compete with the human brain. And until they have a model that could replicate the human brain, they won't replicate our ability to look at it and go, this isn't real. And that's the uncanny valley. I don't think we'll cross on a lot of fronts, but on others I think we will. I still vote that motion pictures can't be remade, but I'll fight you on that one. But I don't think AI will ever make a good motion picture.
So where are we in the uncanny valley now? Are we approaching it? Are we in it?
No,
will we be forever in it?
No, the beauty of the uncanny valley is it's self-correcting. So when, like, I joke about motion pictures, but making a feature-length motion picture that anybody would want to watch twice, I think is impossible, right? Well, we know that because every time we see something that AI makes, we're like, that's pretty cool, and then you don't really care about it anymore. You only like it because AI made it. It's like my kids' art. I only like it because they made it. It's not good. You know, like that's the way you feel about AI stuff right now with, you know, motion pictures, with stuff like that, right? There will be places, though, where AI as an assistant will completely push us forward. So like in, I mean, we've already had procedurally generated worlds in video games, and anybody who's a video gamer knows it's some of the best video gaming you've ever done is in something that a human being didn't make. It was procedurally generated. So like those concepts, like there will be places where we'll love it, but there's stuff that it's never going to be able to do.
All right. We got time for one more? All right, going once, going twice. Going 3 times. Brian, thank you. Incredible insight. Yeah. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Okay, we've got a break now. The next